And as for you, smart guy.
Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John Show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John Show, the finest in the land.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is February 6th. And John, what day of the week is it? If you didn't have a calendar in front of you, what day of the week would it be because of the fact that you heard the Barbershop Boys? What day would it be, John?
It would be Friday.
Friday. And what do we do on Friday?
Polka Boys.
We do the Polka Boys because of the fact that...
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
We can. Every single day of his life, John Combest puts together this incredible list of all the important stuff you should know that's going on in the world. Well, actually in the world of Missouri, not the world in general, but just the world of Missouri. And there are so many things that when you're ADD like me, and when you can't even remember the fact that John corrected you about saying I'm ADD, and I can't remember anything he said from, 7 o'clock this morning, John? What did you say? What did you say what day it is?
I said that I was going to make a Savannah Guthrie reference, but that would be inappropriate, Brad. It's Friday.
It's Friday. And you know what we do on Friday, John?
I bet we do the Polka Boys.
We bring in the Polka Boys because being
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
that I'm riddled with ADD, and I am ADD. I'm one of those TV commercials. I'm Brad, and I'm ADD. No, what we do is John comes in and puts the top 3 of his dozens of things on johncombest.com. That's COMBEST, johncombest.com. And we bring in this. Who do we bring in, John?
Casey Kasem.
No, we bring in the Polka Boys.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. We bring in Casey.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And he counts them down.
In third place,
Besides the loss of memory gimmick, which apparently begins today, my favorite new gimmick that you've introduced in the last week to 10 days has been when you look to the sky and you look to your former journalism professor, Dr. Camille Winter. Brad, can I ask you to summon Camille Winter for just a moment?
We're not that far into the show. He may not be awake yet. Dr. Winter, I'm looking up. Hold on, move one of the ceiling tiles here in the studio because there's a hole in the roof and I can see right out into the heaven there. Dr. Winter, are you there? Yes, Brad. What does that scoundrel John Combest want with me? He's there, John.
Oh, Dr. Camille, I knew you would respond to our summon. Brad usually uses a Ouija board, but now we're going to be a bit angelic. There is a great example of student journalism that I'm going to get to in a minute. An example of students leading the way in journalism and maybe even getting a mainstream reporter to pay attention somewhere down the road if they choose to report on it. Now, we'll start with the mainstream story that is posted on STLtoday.com today. And it's been on every major station, I should say every television station here in the St. Louis area. The headline from the Post-Dispatch: man used a bag's mesh pocket to photograph women in WashU library bathroom, prosecutors say. We'll get to the student journalism in a minute, but first let's read Dana Reek's piece from the Post-Dispatch. I'll just read you the first 2 paragraphs. Authorities on Thursday detailed how they say a man was able to take pictures of more than a dozen women in a Washington University library bathroom. The case began when a food service employee on November 19th, by my math, that's right before Thanksgiving, saw Dennis Dill, 30, enter a women's bathroom at the John M. Olin Library on the Washington University campus, said Assistant Prosecuting Attorney John Paul Frisella. Now, we'll just note here that when people on the WashU campus say the library, they're talking to the big main library. They're talking about the big main library. It's called Olin Library. I think every campus has one big main library. So this is a monstrosity of a library on the WashU campus, and they have several sets of bathrooms here. The employee noticed that he, the man, Dennis Dill, had been in the bathroom for a long time. Investigators later said he was there for almost 5 hours. And so the worker reported it to campus police after confronting Dill. So Dana Reek's piece goes on to talk about how authorities took a look at surveillance camera, and they detailed, as part of what I think is a public service, women to be on the lookout for if anyone sticks a backpack underneath the door of a stall, and I don't know, the backpack has a mesh pocket and it looks like there might be a phone with a camera on it pointed at you, chances are good there's a little bit of monkey business going on. Pardon me. Now let's get to the student journalism piece of this. I read Miss Reek's piece when it posted yesterday, and I thought, gosh, there's something missing here. And then I remembered a piece that I read in Washington University's student newspaper back in December. A reporter named Eliza, or maybe it's Eliza, Lubitz, Lubitz, and she wrote a piece called Person Arrested After Allegedly Filming a Woman in the Olin Restroom. Now, what Miss Lubitz points out that Miss Reek didn't mention is when this gentleman, Mr. Dill, was confronted, he was wearing a wig. And when they got him, Brad, when authorities got him, picture a Scooby-Doo case where the police grab him and they remove his wig. The police literally removed his wig after they arrested him. And what do you know? It's a man. It's not a woman. So what I don't get about this, Brad, and maybe you can riddle me this. First of all, congratulations to the student journalist for including key details in their piece. What I don't understand about this, why wouldn't Miss Reek, who I think is a really thorough journalist, I read a lot of her pieces in the Post-Dispatch, I don't know why she didn't include the fact that Mr. Dill was wearing a wig in a women's bathroom. Now, if Miss Reek is really thorough, maybe, I don't know, maybe she missed the part about the wig, or maybe she thought that the part about a man wearing a wig in a women's bathroom wasn't that important. I don't know. I do think it's great that a student journalist includes a piece about a man wearing a wig in a women's bathroom because it's a fact. And Brad, riddle me this. What could possibly go wrong with, I don't know, letting men come into women's bathrooms? What could possibly go wrong?
John, couple questions for you. The student journalist piece, did you say that was done in December?
It was done on December 3rd, yeah.
Okay, and this guy was just arrested like the other day?
No, he was, pardon me, he was just charged.
Oh, okay. So in other words, this is the same incident.
It's the same incident, yeah. And I don't mean to interrupt your follow-ups here, Brad, but I should point out too, and local media did a good job, including Miss Reek, of pointing out that this is not the first time that this man has allegedly been involved in these sort of things before. He was actually charged at Southwest Illinois Community College in Belleville. And I shouldn't just say he was charged. He's currently on probation for similar charges. And Melissa Price Smith, who's the county prosecutor here in St. Louis County, she says, to me, it shows that he's escalating his behavior. He's not concerned at all that he's on probation, which gives us even more concern that he just continues what he is doing. So sorry to interrupt, Brad, but I think that's an important point.
John, can I tell you here we go. This is not Deedham Tots, right? Not Tops, Deedham Tots, right?
Yeah, but what's the story?
There's a story that I have of my police dispatcher days where we had a similar situation with a dude who was exposing himself to both men and women, sometimes in restrooms like this, but sometimes out like in public areas and things like that. And there was one interesting aspect of this fine young gentleman. He was a black guy, but he was an albino black guy. So when the calls came,
Wow, really?
yes, when the calls came in and I took a couple of them in my time at the police department. When the calls came in, I remember one woman who I answered the phone and she says, "There's this guy that just showed me his blink, 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 and I'm almost upset." And I said, "Can you describe him?" And she says, "He's a black guy, but he's like an albino black guy." We all knew exactly who he was. So over the two-way, I would say, what her car was closest. So-and-so, meet woman at so-and-so, dispatch, for report on a exposure. Male exposed himself to her. And it got to be sort of a running joke. The officers that knew the story would say, "Can you give me a description of what the woman said?" And I said, "Yes, a black gentleman in his mid-20s, about 5'8", and he's an albino." And we knew who he was by name. And they would go and they would arrest him. And I mean, and he would admit to it. And they'd go through the court system. And a couple months later, he was back. It just kept happening. And nothing.
Well, I hope that this doesn't lead to discrimination against albino people, Brad. I would certainly hope not. I mean, I think we've all seen the movie Deliverance. And you bring up a great point, which is that this gentleman's name is Dennis. And I just assumed he was a white guy. I looked at the mugshot, black guy, and it turns out he weighs 140 pounds. Now, I didn't see, Post-Dispatch the KSDK just had a little snippet, a screenshot, and it showed his weight as 140. I didn't see his height, but that's kind of a little fella, wouldn't you say, Brad? 140 pounds, $140?
John, my boots weigh 70 pounds apiece. I mean, a pair of them.
They do,
there's 140 pounds.
And they're made for walk story number 2.
Oh, okay.
Up a notch to number 2.
You put together some fantastic AI videos. Yesterday, I had lunch with a dear friend whose name I will not reveal, but let's just say they had a career in politics. That's all I'll say. And Brad, this gentleman who I had lunch with voluntarily said, "Oh yeah, I've seen Brad's AI videos on YouTube. They're great." And I was like, "Really? You think they're great?" So Brad, I have to acknowledge you do a great job with AI videos. Are you secure enough to take a compliment in that?
I guess so. The only problem is when I do them for clients, they criticize them. "Well, I don't like it." It's okay, whatever.
That's good. So the answer is no. You're not able to take a sincere compliment, and that will discourage me from sharing positive feedback in the future. Thank you for that, Brad.
No problem.
As we move through story number 2, as I compliment you on your skills and you treat it like something stuck to the bottom of one of your 70-pound boots, a story from Kansas City that applies, I think, to everyone across the state of Missouri, including here in our broadcast area. This story is brought to us by the great Tony Bateo of TonysKansasCity, and he pointed us all to a story by KSHB TV. It is Media Literacy Week. Did you even know that, Brad?
John, I didn't. What did you say again?
You didn't. Who knew what literacy was?
What did you say?
I move my lips when I read.
Are you reading that? Can you teach me how to read?
Go ahead, Brad.
Can you teach me how to read, John?
I can't, Brad, but I have an AI course that you can buy. It's called theperfectboomerreading.com. So on KSHB, I'm having trouble this morning saying the name of that station. On the KC TV station, they surprisingly, on this relatively woke TV station, they pointed out that a video going around about ICE is actually untrue. Their headline, "Clay County Sheriff Debunks Viral ICE Media Post." So what happened was, in mid-January, a post was going around Kansas City that said, "ICE is going door to door in Clay County." That's the adjacent county to Jackson County in Kansas City. According to this reporter, the post, quote, went viral. Now, going viral depends on who is making that judgment there, but it did get thousands of shares in less than one day. The sheriff of Clay County was a little surprised because he's like, pretty sure we don't have any ICE going door to door here. So he called around and he got confirmation. Oh yeah, ICE is not going door to door in Clay County. They're not here. They're not doing their thing in Clay County. And he says, it's so easy to get misinformation. When you throw in groupthink, you get confirmation bias, and that can be dangerous. Now, what I like about the story and why I bring it up is that Mr. Aiken said when he took a look at the pictures with a critical eye, he noticed, that can't be true, because there had just been a bunch of snowfall in Clay County, and the videos that apparently just took place the day before, ice agents going door to door, there was no snow on the ground. And also, none of the officers were wearing any gloves to keep their hands warm or safe. And it turns out that the videos were done by AI. Now, what I love about it is my boy, Tony Mateo, he put his headline on his website about AI slop, which is a phrase that I love. And what I also love about when Tony did, when he flagged it, is he said, bookmark this post to send to your parents when they send you Facebook links. So, Brad, let's take a critical eye at some of the stories that we see. And how many times do you see something on right-wing social media or left-wing social media that people don't take 30 seconds to verify, whether it's an old news story or AI, and they just retweet it, they just forward it, they just post their friends and say, can you believe that Kamala Harris is coming back and trying to capture our water? It's probably not true. So just take a little bit closer look at your AI slop.
Okay, now I got a question for you. How did the beginning of your number 2, where the gentleman you had lunch with complimented me, how did that turn into the rest of the story? Is he from Kansas City? Is that what the deal is?
No, the story, if you listen carefully, Brad, the story was about AI videos.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, that was the deal. Okay. So if you told me his name, would I know this guy?
You might. I believe he. Yeah, in fact, you have done some business. I don't want to give it away. Yeah, and you know, but Brad, you dismiss compliments, so I don't think we should spend any more time on trying to get you to accept a compliment, because it's not in your skill set.
Is this guy, I think I know who it is. Is this guy, when he meets a woman, he shows up with green balloons? Is that who it might have been?
No, but he's an albino, Brad.
Okay.
And he's pretty upset about the fact that you used to narc on him back when you were a dispatcher. I didn't know that you were a dispatcher. Speaking of stories you beat to death, I'm going to ask you to bring one back in story number 1.
The number 1.
You want me to bring a story back?
Absolutely, Brad. I want you to go back into your mental bank, which frankly, at your financial state, it's the only bank you have as a mental bank. And I want you to look up Michael Jordan, because it's probably been 3 weeks since you've told your Brad's Top 40 story about Michael Jordan. So I want you to think of your one halfway interesting Michael Jordan quote that you recycle every month. And I want you to have it ready for me. Can you do that for me, Brad?
Yes, Michael Jordan. As a matter of fact, if you ever watch...
When I ask you to do it, can you do that for me, Brad?
Yes,
Not now.
yes,
Just wait for your cue.
Yes,
Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
A headline from the St. Louis Business Journal. New Lee chairman, Hoffmann, that means Lee Enterprises, Chair Hoffmann says the Post-Dispatch is, quote, a little too left, vows to move it to the middle. You say, John, you and Brad talk about the Hoffmanns all the time. We know he bought the Post-Dispatch. Isn't this old news? Au contraire, gentle listener. The news wasn't technically official until the deal closed yesterday. So the news had been out there that David Hoffmann was taking the helm of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, but he wasn't actually in control until yesterday. And his first day as lead chairman happened to coincide with the St. Louis Business Journal's Advance STL event. And David Hoffmann was the keynote speaker. Oh, what a coinky-dink we got there. I didn't know the Biz Journal still had in-person events. That's pretty cool. So David Hoffmann goes through and says, look, I'm starting to think the Post-Dispatch might be a little bit too liberal. And he says that people, quote, aren't in love with the Post-Dispatch. And he has to, quote, have some ideas to change that, end of quote. So he noted all the statistics, you know, the diminished reach of the Post-Dispatch, and that it needed to be in the middle. The Post-Dispatch political coverage needs to be in the middle. Now, the money quote, so to speak, from David Hoffmann, you know that David Hoffmann and his family own the Oberweis Dairy, right? You know that they took control of that business, and they've made it, according to them, quite profitable. Hoffmann said he isn't a Democrat or Republican. because, quote, both buy ice cream, end of quote. Brad, if you can resist your urge to give your "I'm not a Democrat or Republican, I'm an American" catchphrase, when Mr. Hoffmann says both Republicans and Democrats buy ice cream, didn't Michael Jordan have something similar to say 3 decades ago? What was it, Brad?
When Michael Jordan was asked, I believe in a news conference or something like that, asked by a reporter if he was Republican or Democrat, and he said, I can't remember his, or no, something about.
He was asked why he didn't weigh in on public political issues.
Right. And he said, and someone said, well, you're a Democrat, aren't you? And he said, no. He says, Republicans buy sneakers too. I think that was his quote. Wasn't Republicans buy sneakers too?
That was it, Brad. Yeah, Republicans buy shoes too. So that shows that David Hoffmann isn't interested in catering to one side or another. He wants to do something a little bit down the middle. Now, that will have some challenges, I presume, because we can not just assume, but I think we know that most folks that actually produce the news at the Post-Dispatch, with a few exceptions, tend to be quite liberal. And there are some really good reporters in the middle at the Post-Dispatch, but they're few and far between. So Godspeed to David Hoffmann as he tries to bring the Post-Dispatch to the middle. And Brett, I almost forgot the most important part here, which garnered other headlines that are up today at johncombest.com, which is that David Hoffmann says he's going to bring the Lee headquarters from Davenport, Iowa, to St. Louis, or he may bring the headquarters. There's only 50 people that work at the headquarters, but it's probably symbolic. Bring the producer of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch back to St. Louis.
Well, the interesting thing there is that I will applaud him on that because of the fact that he's one of the few companies that's moving their headquarters into St. Louis, as opposed to most of the companies moving their headquarters out of St. Louis, if you know what I'm saying. But that's a whole nother story. But interesting situation there. And matter of fact, I will talk about Mr. Hoffmann in my top 3 as well, too, because there's an interesting aspect of the story that I'm sitting here thinking, okay, John, don't go there, because I have to rejigger my top 3, and you didn't go there. So
Oh, yes, Brad. See, it's what you get for hoping that I don't go somewhere. It turns out well, right, Brad?
But I heard that to bring the Post-Dispatch more into the center, that he's going to promote Tony Messenger and what's her name, Isaiah Sankanka. He's going to make them.
Yeah, Aisha Sultan. That was close. You were close.
Aisha Sultan. He's going to make them the editor and editor-in-chief, and they're going to be the ones that are going to make sure that everything's right down the middle, John.
They can't, Brad. They just signed a contract with Westplex News. Do you know how much effort it takes to set up an RSS feed, to reprint an O'Fallon press release and stuff from the Missouri Independent, and not only do it once, but post everything twice?
John.
It's hard to do, Brad. Brad, maybe that can be your Mark Shiny object. Can you go back to Westplex News for your Mark Shiny object?
John, you must have looked at it recently because of the fact that I will plead the fact that there is a software issue from a vendor who switched their protocol, and I'm having some problems getting it to work properly. How's that? Will you agree with me on that?
I haven't been to Westplex News in months, and with that, I'm like every other human on earth.
That's interesting because it shows a lot of hits, but that's a whole nother story.
I bet it does, Brad. And how many of those we're not going to get into the bot conversation. Brad, I can't wait to hear your top 3 coming up next.
I bet you can't.